This story is a fictional narrative inspired by real-life emotions and everyday experiences. I cheated on my wife, and now she's cheating on me back in the worst way possible, with my best friend. But right when I was about to give up, I found out the truth about the night she kissed him. The truth made me get down on my knees and beg her to forgive me one more time. Chapter 1, The Punch from the Past. When I kicked open the door to Tom's apartment at 2 in the morning, I didn't find my wife sleeping with my best friend. I found her sitting there crying and him reading her a letter I had written to my girlfriend last year. I sat in my car starting at 1:30 a.m. The streetlight shone yellow through the windshield, making long streaks of light on the bandages wrapped around my right hand. The cut from last week still hadn't healed. The time I smashed our $2,000 wooden table in the living room. Pieces of wood cut my hand when I punched right through it. Sarah cried that night. I promised I'd control myself. She forgave me like she always does. My hand tapped on the steering wheel along with my heartbeat. 1, 2, 3. The bandages rubbed against the cut, sending little pains to remind me not to forget. Don't forget who I am. Don't forget what I did. Don't forget I could lose her any second. In the second-floor apartment, through the gap in the curtains that weren't completely closed, I saw Sarah's shadow moving. That walk, I knew it better than anyone. 18 years. From the 22-year-old girl with hair down to her shoulders on our wedding day, to the 40-year-old woman walking through my best friend's living room in the middle of the night. My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah, "I'm sorry, coming home now?" I closed my eyes and let out a long breath. My shoulder muscles slowly relaxed. Okay. She's coming home. Everything's fine. I won't do anything stupid. I will. When I opened my eyes, Sarah's shadow was gone from the living room. The light in that room turned off. 1 second later, the bedroom light turned on. I'm not a detective, never took any classes about this stuff, but I knew what it meant when someone turns off the living room light at 2 a.m. I knew because I'd done it before. 1 year ago, in a cheap hotel on the other side of town with the woman Tom introduced me to. Lisa. I turned off the living room light. Actually, that cheap room didn't even have a living room, just one light bulb by the bed. But the meaning was the same. Nighttime is where people hide the things they can't keep when the sun comes up. I opened my car door. The cold night air hit my face. I walked up the apartment stairs, each step feeling heavy as lead. The front door, I knocked. No answer. Knocked again. Still quiet. Then I heard crying. Sarah's crying. I didn't knock anymore. I kicked. The door flew open, the hinges screeching, a piece of wood breaking off and hitting the wall. I charged in like a wounded animal, my hands clenched, ready to tear apart anyone. And I stopped. They weren't on the bed. They were sitting on the living room floor. Almost completely dark, with only the light from the hallway coming in. Sarah was curled up against the wall, her face in her hands, and Tom, my friend of 20 years, was sitting across from her, holding a piece of paper. He was reading. And I don't know how to tell you this, except by writing it down. When I'm with you, I still feel like a man. Not Mike, the husband, the father, the unemployed guy trying to keep his family from falling apart. Just Mike. A man that someone looks at and sees value in. Tom stopped reading when the door flew in. Sarah looked up. Her eyes were red, tears still wet on her cheeks. But the way she looked at me made me freeze. It wasn't fear. It wasn't anger. It wasn't shame at getting caught. It was disappointment. Deep, total disappointment, like I had just proven something she had been trying not to believe for a whole year. Mike, Tom's voice shook. Calm down. Give me that paper. I didn't recognize my own voice. It was rough, like someone was choking me. Tom hesitated. Sarah reached out and gently took the paper from his hand. She stood up. Every step she took toward me felt like a hammer, hitting my chest. I know your handwriting, Sarah said, her voice shaky. I also know the email you used to send it. The email you said you deleted, but really, you just changed the password and forgot I knew about it since we first got married. I shook my head, like, let me explain. You can explain? She stopped less than 3 feet from me. Those eyes, God, those eyes. Can you explain, Mike? A whole year. For a whole year, I've tried to fix things. I've tried to understand. I've tried to think that you were just weak, that you still loved me, that we could get through this. We did get through it. No. She shook her head, a tear falling. We never got through it. You just pulled away. You just went quiet. You just looked at me like I was a stranger in my own house. And when I went out with the neighbors, when I tried to find someone who would look me in the eyes again, You smashed things. You cut your own hand. And her voice caught. I forgave you. I was going to come home tonight. I was going to forgive you one more time. She held up the paper until Tom showed me this. I looked at Tom. My best friend since college. The guy who stood next to me at my wedding. The guy I trusted to take care of Sarah and the kids if something happened to me. He was looking at the floor, his hands clenched tight. How did you get that? Tom didn't answer. How did you get that? I yelled, stepping forward. My bandaged hand made a fist, pain shooting through it, but I didn't care. Mike, Sarah got in front of me. Don't. Do you know? I looked past her at my friend of 20 years. Do you know when I wrote that? When Lisa, the girl you introduced me to, when she started texting me. You told me to just go get coffee and talk, to clear my head. You said I needed friends. Tom looked up. For the first time, I saw something in his eyes that wasn't the nice, single guy always standing outside the family fun. Something dark and tired. Yeah, he said quietly. I introduced you. Why? Tom was quiet. Then he looked at Sarah. A long look. A look I'd never seen him give my wife in 20 years. A look like he was seeing something he'd never dared to touch. And I understood. Oh God, I understood everything. You love her, I said, my voice suddenly empty. You've loved her for 20 years. Sarah didn't turn to look at Tom. She just looked at me. And in her eyes now, I finally saw what I was most afraid of. Not anger, not hate. No need. Just a question. For 18 years, have I chosen the right person? I stepped back. My hand hit the broken door frame, a piece of wood cutting into my skin, but I didn't feel anything. Mike, Sarah stepped out toward me. Let's go home. We'll talk. Home? I laughed, a dry, cracked laugh. Home? Which home, Sarah? The house I took out a loan to buy with these two hands? The house I fixed every nail, painted every wall, hoping my wife and kids would have a decent place to live? Or the house where my wife doesn't want to come home anymore? Where she has to run to her husband's best friend in the middle of the night to hear him read the love letter I wrote to my girlfriend? Silence. A thick silence, heavy as concrete, pressing on my chest. Then Sarah put the paper in her pocket. You want the truth, Mike? She said, her voice suddenly very calm. I didn't come here for Tom. I came here because he called me, said he had something I needed to know. I came here thinking he would tell me about you and Lisa, about what you've been hiding from me. But no. She looked at Tom. He showed me this, and he said, this is what I've hidden from you for 20 years. I set up Mike to meet Lisa. I wanted him to destroy your marriage, so you'd be free. I'm sorry. I looked at Tom. He still had his head down. You, Mud, I couldn't find words. You did all of that just to set her free. Tom looked up, his eyes red. So she wouldn't have to live with a man who doesn't appreciate her. Do you know how lucky you are, Mike? Do you know I watched you marry her, watched you have 3 kids, watched you live the life I dreamed of? And you treated her like furniture? When you lost your job, you pulled away. When you were hurting, you smashed things. When she needed you most, you disappeared. He stood up. I was wrong. I know I was wrong, but do you think I'm the only bad guy here? I couldn't answer. I just stood there in the broken doorway looking at Sarah, my wife, the woman I loved more than anything in the world, crying because of what I'd done, what I hadn't done, what I'd become. I'll come home, Sarah said, but not tonight. Tonight I'm staying here, talking to Tom, not because I want to be with him, but because I need to understand. I need to understand how the 2 men I trusted most could make things turn out like this. She stepped forward and put her hand on my chest, right where my heart was beating like crazy. 18 years, Mike. I gave you 18 years, and now I don't know if I have anything left to give. She took her hand away, turned, and walked back inside. I stood there, watching her disappear into the dark room, watching Tom stand still as a statue, watching the paper in Sarah's pocket. The letter I wrote to another woman, words I'd never said to my own wife. Blood from my hand dripped onto the wood floor. I don't know how long I stood there. All I know is when I walked out of that apartment, it was still dark. And for the first time in 18 years, I didn't know if I still had a home to go back to. In Chapter 2, Pieces of the Past. The apartment door was still wide open behind me. Sarah had gone back inside, leaving me standing there with a bleeding hand and the feeling that someone had just ripped my chest open. But I couldn't stand there forever. I went in. Tom was still sitting on the floor, right where he'd been reading my letter. He didn't look up when I walked over. Didn't say anything when I stood right in front of him, a whole head taller, blood from my hand dripping onto the floor next to his feet. How the hell did you get my email? I wasn't yelling. My voice was rough, like someone was choking me. Tom looked up. His eyes were red, but his face was weirdly calm, the calm of someone who'd been waiting for this for 20 years. You forgot, he said. Last month you borrowed my laptop to print job applications. At that coffee shop near your house. You logged into your email, picked the file to print, then left without logging out. I remembered. A rainy afternoon, I was frustrated about not finding a job. Tom asked me to get coffee. He said, borrow his laptop to print my applications. Easier that way. I typed my password, printed, then got up and went outside to smoke. Auto login, Tom continued. I just had to open the browser and I was in your email. No password needed. I clenched my fist. The cut tore open, more blood flowing, but I didn't feel the pain. You read my email? Yeah. How long? Ever since. I lunged at him. My hand grabbed his collar, yanked him up, slammed him against the wall. His head hit with a heavy thump. I got my face right up in his, breathing hard. You know I could kill you, right? Tom didn't fight back, he just looked at me. That look, the look of someone who had lost a long time ago. Kill me then, he said quietly. Then it's all over, you'll go to jail. Sarah will raise 3 kids alone, and I won't have to watch you live the life I wanted one more day. My hands shook. Sarah loves you, he whispered. Do you know that? No matter what you do, no matter how you betray her, no matter how you pull away like a snail into its shell, she still loves you. I've watched her for 20 years. I know. He laughed, a laugh with no sound. And you treat her like furniture. Where's Sarah? I growled. Tom pointed toward the back door. I let him go, ran. I found Sarah in the parking lot behind the building. She was sitting on the hood of my old car, the faded silver Ford that had been with our family for 8 years. Still 2 years left on the loan. Her face was in her hands, her shoulders shaking. I stopped a few feet away. Sarah. She didn't answer. Come home, let's talk. She lowered her hands and looked up at me. Tears were streaming down her face, but her eyes weren't crying anymore. They were just red and empty. Talk about what, Mike? About everything. Thing. You want to talk about the letter you wrote to that woman? Or about how you cheated on me? Or about how you've been silent for a whole year, leaving me alone to wonder what I did wrong? She stood up. I didn't kiss Tom because I love him. Those words hit me like a slap. I kissed him because... She stopped, swallowing her tears. Because I wanted to know what it felt like, to feel someone want you so badly they'd break every rule, like you did with her. I couldn't say anything. I wanted to know, she continued, her voice shaking, if I could still make anyone feel that way, if I was still a woman, or just a shadow in my own house. She stepped closer, close enough for me to see each tear still hanging on her eyelashes. And you know what, Mike? When he kissed me, I felt nothing. I blinked. Nothing? Nothing. I just thought about you. I just thought, God, if only Mike would look at me like this. If only he would touch me like I was the most precious thing in the world. She reached up and touched my chest, right where my heart was pounding. But you never do. Not now. Not since you lost your job. Not since you started looking at me like I was a stranger. I wanted to say something, explain. Tell her that I just didn't know how. That I grew up believing men had to be strong, had to be the provider, had to take care of everything, and when I couldn't do that anymore, I didn't know what I was. But the words wouldn't come out. They got stuck in my throat, like always. Sarah looked at me, waited. And then she understood that I wouldn't say anything. She took her hand back. I want a separation, Mike. Those words fell between us like a rock. What? Not divorce. Separation. I need time. I need space. She stopped, searching for words. I need to know who I am without you next to me. Sarah, I love you. I still love you. But I don't know if that's enough anymore. She opened the car door and got into the driver's seat. Go home. Sleep with the kids. Tomorrow morning I'll come get some things. She started the engine. Sarah! But she was already driving away. I got home at 4 a.m. The house was weirdly quiet. The kind of quiet in places that are about to fall apart. I walked up the stairs, each step feeling like I was stepping on my own chest. My oldest son's door, Jake 15, was cracked open. He was asleep, holding his phone like all kids his age do. The second one's room, Emma, 12, had books and papers scattered on her desk. She'd fallen asleep while studying. The youngest, Lily, 8, was hugging her old teddy bear, her lips slightly puckered like she was dreaming. I stood in the hallway looking at those 3 doors, and I realized I was about to lose everything. Not because of Sarah, not because of Tom, but because of me. Because of what I'd done, because of what I hadn't done, because of the way I loved but didn't know how to show it. I went into our bedroom. Empty. The bed was made, pillows arranged neatly. Sarah always liked things tidy before sleeping. On her nightstand was the book she was reading, a bookmark sticking out. I sat on the bed. Then I stood up and opened my laptop. An idea flashed in my head, a crazy idea, but I had to check. I logged into my email, opened the drafts folder, scrolled down, searched, and then I saw it. The letter I wrote to Lisa last year. The letter Tom had read to Sarah tonight. But I stared at the screen, cold sweat ran down my back. This letter was a draft. It was never sent. I remembered writing it at 3 a.m. after a sleepless night, after Lisa texted me asking how I was. I wrote those lines about feeling like a man when I was with her. And then I deleted it. I hit delete, closed the browser, and went to sleep. I never sent it. So what was that thing Tom showed Sarah tonight? And how did he have it? I sat in front of the computer screen, my hands shaking. Blood from my cut soaked through the bandage, dripping onto the keyboard. That letter was a draft. I never sent it. So then, I looked at the timestamp, draft created March 15th last year, 1:47 a.m. And it was still there in the drafts folder. Tom said he got it from my email when I borrowed his laptop last month. But if it was just a draft, Tom would have had to open the drafts folder to see it. He would have had to go looking on purpose. And why? I closed my eyes, tried to remember. My head was spinning. Sarah, Tom, the letter, Lisa, all mixing together. I opened my eyes and looked at the screen again. The cursor blinked next to the unsent letter. And I knew something wasn't right, something I hadn't seen yet. One missing piece in the story. I opened the letter. Read every line again. Words I'd written in despair, words I'd never dared say to my wife. And then I saw it. At the bottom of the letter, a line I didn't remember writing. A signature. Not my name, but a friend? My heart stopped for a second. I didn't write that line. Someone had been in my email. Someone had changed this letter. And someone had printed it out, given it to Sarah, so she would read it in front of me. I looked out the window, still dark, but in my head a light went on. A name. Tom. Chapter 3, The Web of Lies. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that paper in Tom's hand. The letter I wrote to Lisa, the letter I deleted, and the question kept repeating in my head, how did he have it? The next morning, I dropped the kids at school, then drove straight to Lisa's place. She lived 20 minutes away in a small apartment near the shopping center. I'd never been here that time we met at a hotel, just once, and I'd tried to forget it. But now I was standing at her door at 9 a.m., pounding nonstop. Lisa opened the door. Her hair was messy, she wore an old hoodie, her eyes still sleepy. When she saw me, she raised an eyebrow, then gave that half-joking smile. Oh, wow, Mike, thought the perfect husband was done with his wife? I didn't smile, I looked right into her eyes. Do you know Tom? Lisa's face went pale for a second. She didn't answer right away. Her fingers gripped the door edge, turning white. Then she laughed, but this time it was a forced laugh. What, Tom? I don't know what you're talking about. Tom, my friend. The Tom I introduced you to at the bar that night, remember? Lisa shook her head, but her eyes wouldn't look at me. She looked at the floor, looked away, anywhere but my face. You're lying, I said, my voice got low. I know you're lying. Maybe you should go home, Mike. Lisa stepped back, getting ready to close the door. What happened between us was a long time ago. I blocked the door. Lisa, I'm not here to bother you. I just need the truth. My marriage is falling apart, and I think you know something. Lisa looked at me. A long silence. Then she sighed and opened the door wider. Come in. Lisa's apartment was small, messy, smelled like old coffee. She sat on the couch, holding a coffee cup from earlier, not drinking, just sitting there. Oh, Tom and I went to college together, Lisa said quietly. We had a thing for a while. I sat down across from her. My heart beat faster. I loved him, Lisa continued, looking into her coffee cup. Loved him since freshman year, but he never loved me. He only had eyes for one person, Sarah. I couldn't breathe. When he told me his plan, I thought if I helped him, if Sarah left you, maybe he would finally see me. Lisa laughed bitterly. I was stupid, wasn't I? You said plan? What plan? Lisa looked at me, her eyes red. He wanted you to cheat on your wife, Mike. He set up you and me meeting. That night at the bar wasn't an accident. He knew you'd be there. He knew you were sad, weak. He told me to be there, to talk to you, to let you. She didn't finish, but I understood. I stood up, pacing in the small living room. It felt like someone had just poured ice water down my back. And the letter, I asked? The letter I wrote you? How did Tom get it? Lisa bit her lip. I forwarded it to him. He said he needed proof. He said he would use it to help me. Help you? I almost yelled. You thought he was helping you? He used you, Lisa. He used both of us. Lisa didn't say anything. Tears started falling. I sighed. The anger was gone. Instead, there was just emptiness, a feeling of being so stupid. I sat down, holding my head. I'm sorry, I whispered. I'm sorry I dragged you into this. Lisa wiped her tears. Not your fault. My fault. I thought I could change him. I thought if he got Sarah, he'd be happy, and then he'd see you? I looked up at her. Lisa, he'll never see anyone but Sarah. And neither will I. I don't see anyone but Sarah. We both love the wrong people. Lisa sobbed. I left Lisa's house with a name and an address. She told me Tom often went to a coffee shop downtown where he met old college friends. I didn't go there right away. Instead, I called someone I knew, a private detective I'd met through some construction site jobs. I hired him to follow Tom. 3 days later, I had results. Photos taken from far away. Tom and Lisa sitting in that coffee shop holding hands. Not the casual kind of hand-holding. The kind of hand-holding between two people with a past, a present, secrets they couldn't tell. In another photo, Lisa was smiling. Smiling at Tom in a way I'd never seen when she was with me. A real smile. Not fake, not forced. I looked at those photos and the truth hit me like daylight. I was never Lisa's lover. I was never the man she wanted. I was just a tool. A chess piece in a game set up 20 years ago. I drove to Tom's house. He opened the door, saw me, and wasn't surprised. He'd been waiting for this. Come in, Tom said. I went in. His apartment was clean, neat, but empty. No family photos, no memories, just a lonely kitchen and an old couch. I showed him the photos. Tom looked, then put them on the table. He didn't say anything. You set me up with Lisa, I said. My voice shook, but I tried to stay calm. You used her to make me cheat on Sarah. Then you took that email, gave it to Sarah so she'd see how terrible I am. You wanted her to leave me. Tom looked at me. His eyes were strangely calm. And you thought you'd get her, I continued? You thought after all this, Sarah would run to you? Tom laughed, a cold laugh with no warmth. You want to know why I did it? He stood up, walked to the window, looked outside. Because I've loved Sarah since college. I was quiet. Freshman year, Tom continued. First day in the dorms, I saw her sitting under a tree reading a book. Sunlight through her hair, and I knew right then, that was the girl I would love my whole life. He turned back to look at me. His eyes were red. But that girl only had eyes for you. You, my roommate, the guy I thought of as a brother. You didn't have to do anything, didn't have to try. She just looked at you like you were the whole world. I didn't know what to say. I waited, Mike. I waited 20 years. Tom's voice started to crack. I thought eventually you'd do something wrong. She'd see you didn't deserve her. But you didn't do anything wrong. You were just you, and she still loved you. He stepped closer to me. Until you cheated on her. Finally, you gave me my chance. I set you up with Lisa. I waited for you to fall for it. And you did a great job, my friend. That last sentence, he said with a smile, but that smile couldn't hide the pain in his eyes. I stood still, looking at Tom, my friend of 20 years, my biggest enemy. I don't know whether to kill you or feel sorry for you, I whispered. Tom laughed, this time a real laugh. I don't know either, Mike. I don't know either. I turned and walked to the door. Before I left, I stopped. Does Sarah know? Did you tell her who you really are? Not yet, Tom said. But if you want, I'll tell her. I'll tell her everything. So she knows how terrible I am, and so she sees, no matter how bad you are, you're still better than me. I didn't answer. I walked out, got in my car, and drove. On the way home, I pulled over to the side of the road, held the steering wheel, and cried. I cried for 20 years of friendship destroyed. I cried for a marriage slowly dying. And I cried for one harsh truth. I didn't know if I was strong enough to tell Sarah all of this. But I knew I had to. She deserved to know the truth. No matter how much it hurt. Chapter 4, Sarah's Choice. She looked at me like I was crazy. We sat in the kitchen, 2 cold cups of coffee between us. Sarah had just come home to get some of her stuff, planning to stay only 15 minutes. But I stopped her, made her listen. Mike, are you blaming other people because you can't admit you're wrong? Her voice was tired. You're the one who slept with that woman, not Tom. I know, and I'm not denying it, but you have to hear me. Hear what? Hear you say your best friend of 20 years set all this up? She shook her head. When are you going to take responsibility for what you did? I put my phone on the table. The screen lit up. The photo I took from my computer last night. The draft letter with the words, a friend at the bottom. Look, I wrote that letter, but I never sent it. I deleted it from my sent folder. But somehow it ended up in Tom's hands with extra words I never wrote. Sarah looked at the screen, her eyes narrowed a little. What does this mean? He got into my email, he read this letter, he changed it, and he printed it out for you to see. I swiped to the next photo. Call logs from Tom's phone, which I'd snapped a picture of when he went to the bathroom at the bar last week. One number showed up over and over. Do you recognize this number? Sarah looked, her face went pale. Lisa, I said. That woman. Tom called her twice a week, but for 3 months before she ever approached me. I checked. I didn't think I'd remember, but I do because I used to text her a lot. Silence. Sarah ran her hand through her hair, a thing she does when she's stressed. I saw her fingers shake. Could just be a coincidence. And what about this? I handed her a piece of paper I'd written on last night, a short timeline. The day Tom introduced Lisa. The day I first met Lisa. The day Tom asked how things were between me and Sarah. The day Tom just happened to stop by when we were fighting. Sarah read it again. Then she sat down like her legs couldn't hold her anymore. Her hand reached for her coffee cup, but she was shaking so bad coffee spilled on the table. She didn't even notice. Just stared at that paper. Oh my God, Mike. Her voice cracked. Was it all just a script? What were the last 20 years? I wanted to hold her. Wanted to touch her shoulder. But I didn't dare. Didn't know if I still had that right. I don't know, I said quietly. I only know what I found, and I know I was wrong, but it wasn't just my fault. Sarah sat still for a very long time. Then she started talking, her voice far away like she was remembering. Last year, after you and I fought about money, Tom came over to drink beer with you. Remember? The next day, he called me and said, Mike's just stressed. Don't be mad at him. He loves you a lot, but us men, we show it in our own way. And she looked at me. I thought he was good. I thought he understood. I didn't say anything. Then when you went to that job interview in Cleveland, came home late, I got mad. He texted me again. He's trying, Sarah. Don't put pressure on him. Whenever I wanted to talk to you, wanted you to open up, he'd say, men don't like being pushed. Just give Mike time. She laughed a sad laugh. Turns out he was pushing us apart. The more time I gave, the more you went quiet. The farther I got from you. I remembered. The times Tom sat with me at the bar saying, you're too stressed, man. You need to blow off steam. There's this new place, some pretty girls, but just coffee. No big deal. The times he said, your wife's been going out a lot. You're not worried? I saw her talking to that neighbor, real friendly. He planted seeds of doubt in my head. And when I was weakest, he introduced Lisa. I need to see him, I said. Sarah looked up. See Tom? Yeah, confront him, get the truth. No, she stood up. Her voice suddenly got hard. Let me. I was shocked. Sarah, haha, I'll handle this myself. She looked straight into my eyes. That look. For the first time in months, I saw fire in it. Not angry fire, but the fire of a woman who's had enough and is ready to fight. You stay home, she said, with the kids. I'll go see Tom. You can't go alone. I can. She cut me off. I've been alone this whole time anyway. Alone on with the pain of my husband cheating. Alone wondering what I did wrong. Alone trying to keep this family from falling apart. She stepped closer, put her hand on my chest, right where my heart was pounding. I owe you one chance to trust me, she said softly. Like you owed me. I understood. She didn't say it, but I understood. This wasn't just about seeing Tom. This was the first time she was stepping into the fight instead of watching it happen. And she wanted me to trust that she could do it. Trust that we could be on the same team instead of standing on opposite sides. Where are you meeting him? The coffee shop near his place. Somewhere public, don't worry. She got her phone and started texting. My heart beat faster. That familiar worry rose up. Fear of losing her. Fear of what Tom might say. Fear she'd believe him instead of me. But I held it back. When are you going? Now. She looked at her watch. He said he'll be there in half an hour. She put on her jacket, grabbed her keys. At the door, she stopped and looked back at me. Mike. Yeah? For the first time in a year, you talked to me. Really talked. Not silence, not pulling away. You showed me you're still here. Her eyes got a little wet. Thank you. Then she left. I stood at the door, watching Sarah's car back out of the driveway and head down the street. Disappeared around the corner. The clock in the kitchen said 10 a.m. The 3 kids were still asleep after a long night of not knowing what was happening. I sat back down at the kitchen table, looked at my cold coffee, looked at the coffee Sarah had spilled that I hadn't cleaned up yet. I grabbed my phone, opened the family locator app, the one Sarah installed for all of us when Lily was just learning to walk. so we could keep track of each other when we were out. A little red dot moved on the map, heading toward the downtown area where the coffee shop Tom always went to was. I watched that red dot. It moved slowly through the streets, then it stopped. She'd arrived. I looked at the clock, 10:15. 5 minutes passed, 10 minutes, 15. The red dot was still there. In my head, 1,000 scenarios played out. What would Tom say? Would he admit it? Would he do something to Sarah? Was she crying? Would she believe him? My hands shook. I wanted to drive over there, wanted to burst into that coffee shop, wanted to protect her. But I remembered her words, "You stay home." The first time she'd asked me to trust her. The first time she'd stepped into the fight herself. I sat still, watched the red dot on my screen, and waited. Chapter 5, the final confrontation. I said I'd stay home. I said I'd trust Sarah. But 10 minutes after she walked out the door, I was in my car, following that red dot on my phone like a crazy person. I knew I was wrong. I knew she needed space. But the fear of losing her, fear Tom would say something that would make her never come back, it was bigger than anything I knew was right. So I parked 2 blocks away from the coffee shop, walked over, and stood outside, leaning against the wall, looking through the big window. I saw them sitting in the far corner. Tom was talking, his hands waving, his face red. Sarah sat still, holding her coffee cup, her back straight like she was getting ready to face a storm. I couldn't hear anything from out here, but I could see. "You think he loves you?" Tom leaned forward, his voice just loud enough for me to hear through the window when a kid opened the door to leave. I pressed closer to the wall, my ears straining. "He cheated on you the first chance he got," Tom said. "He pulls away when things get hard. He smashes things when he's jealous. Is that the man you want to live with, Sarah?" I saw Sarah put her coffee cup down. Her hands weren't shaking anymore. "You think I came here to hear you badmouth my husband?" "I'm not badmouthing him. I'm telling the truth." "Your truth?" Sarah's voice was weirdly calm. "The truth you've been building for 20 years. Tom froze. "What?" I saw Sarah pull a stack of papers from her bag. Printouts of the things I'd shown her this morning. She put them on the table, between them. "Mike showed me this." Tom leaned down to look. His face went pale. "That letter, it's a draft. Mike never sent it, but you got into his email, changed it, printed it out, and gave it to me." Sarah paused for a moment. "You also texted Lisa for 3 months before she ever approached Mike. You set them up." Tom was quiet. "Anything to say?" I held my breath, waiting. Then Tom laughed, a twisted laugh, with no joy in it. "Yeah, I did all of that." He leaned back in his chair, arms spread wide like he was giving up. "And you want to know why? Because I love you. For 20 years, I've loved you. From the first time you walked into the freshman orientation room, your hair tied up, smiling at Mike instead of smiling at me." I saw Sarah blink. "Tom, let me finish." He held up his hand. "I watched you and Mike together for 18 years. I went to every birthday party for your kids, every family dinner, every time you laughed with him, every time he made you cry. I watched him not appreciate you, watched him leave you alone, watched him cheat on you. And you still stayed." His voice cracked. "I wished you'd leave him. I wished you'd choose someone else, someone who actually deserved you. And I wished..." He stopped, swallowing tears. "I wish that someone could be me." Silence. I stood out there, leaning against the cold wall, and for the first time, I didn't see Tom as a betrayer. Just a lonely, hurting, desperate man willing to destroy everything for a chance. Sarah looked at him for a long time. Then she spoke, her voice so soft I had to hold my breath to hear. "You love me so much you were willing to destroy my marriage, make me a victim, and turn Mike into a monster?" Tom was stunned. "Did you ever ask me what I wanted?" He opened his mouth to speak, but Sarah didn't let him. "Did you ever think that no matter how bad Mike is, no matter how wrong he is, he's still my choice? I chose him 18 years ago. And every day since, I chose to stay. Because I love him." Her voice caught. "Not because I don't see his flaws. I see all of them. I see him go quiet when I need him to talk. I see him pull away when life gets hard. I see him cheat on me for reasons I still don't fully understand. But I still love him." Tom shook his head. "You can't... You did all this for me?" Sarah cut him off. "No, Tom, you did it for you, for your ego. For 20 years of not getting what you wanted. I was just a possession in your head, a prize you thought you deserved." I saw Tom shrink like he'd been punched. "I'm not a prize," Sarah continued. "I'm a person. I get to choose, and I chose Mike. I still choose Mike even though he's messed up. Because when I look at him, I see the man I love. The man who stayed up all night when the kids were sick, who worked overtime to buy me a birthday present, who cried in my arms when his dad died. Tears fell down her face. I see the real him, not just his mistakes. Tom sat still, his hands on the table were shaking. Then he started crying. Not the kind of crying men usually hide, but crying like a kid, his shoulders shaking, tears streaming down his face. I'm sorry, he sobbed. I'm sorry, I didn't know any other way. I just wanted you to be happy. I thought if you were with me, you'd be happier. Sarah didn't say anything, just sat there watching him cry. I stood outside the door, my hands clenched so tight my nails dug into my palms. A strange feeling rose up inside me. Not victory, not satisfaction, just a huge sadness. Me and Tom, two men. One had everything but didn't know how to keep it. One had nothing and would do anything to get it. Who was more pitiful? You need help, Tom? Sarah's voice was gentle, like she was talking to a child. Not for me, not for Mike, from yourself. You need to learn to accept that some things you just can't have, no matter how hard you try, no matter how long you scheme. Tom looked up at her, his eyes red. You know what makes me saddest? Sarah said. Not that you set Mike up with Lisa, but that you've been next to us for 20 years, Mike's best friend, someone I trusted, and not once did you have the courage to tell the truth. You just stayed quiet and jealous and scheming. She stood up. I'm going home. Mike's there with the kids. For the first time in a year, he's home with them instead of hiding in silence. Tom looked at her, desperate. Sarah. Goodbye, Tom. I hope you find peace. I really do. She turned and walked away. I ducked back around the corner, quick, so she wouldn't see me. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might jump out of my chest. Sarah walked out of the coffee shop. She stopped on the sidewalk for a second, took a deep breath, wiped her tears. Then she headed toward her car. I stood there watching her. And then I realized I was still hiding in the shadows while she walked into the light. I'd promised to stay home. I'd promised to trust her. And I'd broken that promise after 10 minutes. But watching Sarah walk away, her back straight, her head high, I suddenly understood something. She didn't need me to protect her anymore. She'd protected herself. And in doing that, she'd protected our marriage too. I stood there a little longer, looking through the window. Tom was still at the table, his face in his hands. A waiter came over, asked if he was okay. He nodded, not looking up. I turned and walked back to my car. On the way home, I thought about what Sarah said. I see the real him, not just his mistakes. She saw me. After everything, she still saw me. And for the first time in a year, I asked myself, was I brave enough to really look at myself, not just my mistakes, but the real me, the scared, weak man who still loved his wife more than anything in the world? I got home just as the kids were waking up. Lily ran out and hugged my leg, asked where Mommy went. I picked her up, said Mommy went to get breakfast. And when I sat down on the couch, holding Lily in my lap, my phone lit up. A text from Sarah. I'm on my way home. We need to talk. Thank you for staying home. I looked at those words, stayed home, and felt a sharp pain in my chest. I hadn't stayed home. But for the first time, I wished I had done the right thing. Chapter 6, Two Broken People. Sarah's car pulled into the driveway at 11:30. I was sitting in the kitchen, staring at my coffee that had gone cold hours ago. Lily had gone back to her room to watch TV. Jake and Emma were still asleep. The house was quiet, like there had never been a storm. The door opened. Sarah walked in. She stood in the hallway for a moment, looking at me. Her eyes were still red, but no more tears. I stood up. You okay? She nodded, then shook her head, then nodded again. I didn't know what to do. Stand still? Go to her? Say something? Sarah walked into the kitchen. She pulled out a chair and sat down across from me. And then, without a word, she reached for the new box of bandages on the shelf, the box I'd bought at the pharmacy after I smashed the table last week. She opened it, took out the roll of bandages, cotton, disinfectant. Give me your hand. I obeyed, putting my right hand on the table. The old bandages were caked with blood from last night, dirty and loose. Sarah gently unwrapped them, loop by loop. The wound was exposed, a long cut from the back of my hand down to my wrist, still oozing blood. Her hands shook, but her movements were so gentle. She dipped cotton in the disinfectant, cleaned the wound. I sucked in air when it stung, but I didn't pull my hand away. Does it hurt? She asked, still looking at my hand. Yeah. Good, her voice was soft. You should hurt. I didn't answer. She wrapped new bandages around my hand, loop after loop of white gauze, careful and precise. I watched her hands, the hands that had changed so many diapers, cooked so many meals, wiped so many tears from our kids. Those hands were bandaging me. For the first time in months, someone was touching me without blame. Sarah tied the bandage off and looked up at me. Our eyes met, Not like enemies on the same battlefield, not like strangers living under one roof, but like two people who just realized how deeply they'd hurt each other. Why did you write that letter? Sarah's question dropped into the silence like a stone into a deep well. I looked down at my freshly bandaged hand, pure white, clean. Nothing like what was inside me. I don't know where to start. Just start anywhere. Her voice wasn't angry, just tired. Start somewhere. You've never told me. For a whole year, you've never really told me. I took a deep breath. That night, the night I wrote that letter, was the third time I'd been rejected for a job interview. The biggest construction company in town said I didn't have enough management experience. Not enough experience. I laughed bitterly. I've been in construction 20 years, and now they say I don't have experience. Sarah listened quietly. I came home, you were at work, the kids were at school. The house was empty. I sat here, right at this table, and looked at the bills on the fridge. Electricity, water, the car loan, the mortgage, all of them overdue or almost overdue. My hand clenched, the wound throbbing. And I looked down at these two hands, the hands that built so many houses for other people. But I couldn't build a home for my own family. I looked up at Sarah. You know, when I lost my job, when I couldn't pay the bills, I looked at you and thought you deserved a better man. Sarah's eyes went wide. Mike, let me finish. I swallowed my tears. I watched you go to work every morning, watched you pay every bill with your salary, watched you try to keep everything together while I sat at home waiting for the phone to ring. And I felt useless, felt like a burden, felt like I didn't deserve you. Tears were running down my face and I didn't even notice. And instead of trying to be a better man, I just destroyed myself. Because at least when I was destroying myself, I felt like I still controlled something, like I still existed. Sarah put her hand over her mouth. Her eyes were red. That letter. I wrote it when I was desperate. I wrote it to Lisa because she was the only one at that moment who looked at me like I still had value. But I didn't send it. I never meant to send it. I just needed to write it down, to feel a little lighter. I wiped my tears with my good hand. And then I deleted it, or thought I did. I didn't know it was still in my drafts. I didn't know Tom would find it and use it like a weapon. Silence. Sarah lowered her hand. Her face was wet. I'm sorry, I said. I'm sorry for all of it. For not telling you this stuff sooner. For leaving you alone when you were hurting too. Sarah shook her head. Don't apologize. Not now. She wiped her tears with the back of her hand. I have something to tell you. I waited. I knew Tom liked me for a long time. Those words hit me like a punch. What? I knew. Sarah looked down at the table. Not from the beginning, but a few years ago at Jake's birthday party, I caught Tom looking at me, a look. Not like a friend. I told myself I was imagining it. But then other times, I'd see him look at me when you went to get beer, when you went outside to smoke. That look. My heart pounded. And you never said anything? No. Sarah looked up, her eyes full of tears. Because you and I were fighting then. Because you'd been quiet for so long. Because I wanted revenge. She sobbed. I wanted you to hurt. Wanted you to know what betrayal felt like. Wanted you to look at me and see that someone else could want me. Because you hadn't looked at me like that for a whole year. I couldn't speak. But I never meant to actually betray you. She looked straight into my eyes. Never. That kiss, the kiss with Tom at the party, that's all I could do. And when you smashed things, I wasn't crying because I was scared. I was crying because you finally reacted, but in the worst way possible. But when I saw that letter, she continued, her voice breaking, when Tom read it to me, I didn't know it was a draft. I thought you still had feelings for her, and I thought this whole year of trying to fix things was for nothing, and it hurt so much. I wanted to know if anyone in this world really loved me. Sarah sobbed, her face in her hands. I stood up, walked around the table, knelt down in front of her. Sarah. She didn't lower her hands. Sarah, look at me. Slowly, she lowered her hands. Her face was red, tears shining on her cheeks. I'm sorry, I said. I'm sorry I made you feel unloved. I'm sorry I went quiet. I'm sorry I destroyed myself instead of fighting for us. I reached up and wiped her tears. But I love you. I never stopped loving you. No matter how bad I am, no matter how wrong I am, that love is still here. I put my hand on my chest. It didn't go anywhere. It just didn't know how to speak. Sarah looked at me, a long, deep look. Then she reached up and touched my face. Her fingers were cold, shaking. Mike. Yeah? For the first time in a year, you're telling the truth. I nodded. She pulled me closer, hugged me. I wrapped my arms around her, buried my face in her hair, and cried like a child. We sat there out on the kitchen floor holding each other, our tears mixing together, two broken people trying to piece themselves back together from the fragments. Upstairs, the TV from Lily's room drifted down, some kid's song. And in my arms, Sarah whispered, "Can we still save this, Mike?" I held her tighter. "I don't know, but I want to try. This time I really want to try." She didn't answer, just cried. But she didn't leave my arms. Chapter 7, The Decision. After all the tears, after all the confessions, after that hug on the kitchen floor, we sat there for a long time. When my legs went numb, Sarah finally let go. She wiped her face, took a deep breath, and looked at me with eyes still red but holding a new light. "We need help," I said. She nodded. I know you've suggested it for a long time. But I wouldn't go. I said men solve their own problems, don't need strangers butting in." I laughed bitterly. Look how well that worked out. Sarah didn't laugh. She just looked at me, waiting. "I want to go to counseling," I said. "Together. Find someone who can teach us how to talk to each other again." Her eyes narrowed a little, thinking it over. "I agree," she said slowly, "but there's a condition." "Anything." She looked straight at me, the look of a woman who'd had enough and knew what she needed. 3 months apart. My heart stopped. "What?" "Not divorce, separation. I'll rent a small apartment nearby. The kids stay with you. I'll come by often. But we won't live together for 3 months. Sarah, I need time, Mike." Her voice didn't waver. "I need space to remember who I am without you next to me. I've been a wife, a mother for 18 years. I forgot what it feels like to stand on my own." I wanted to argue. Wanted to say 3 months was too long, that I couldn't be away from her, that we'd just found each other again. But I looked into her eyes, and I saw the determination. "I agree. I'm not like she." Sarah looked surprised. Maybe she didn't think I'd agree so fast. "But promise me one thing." "What?" I reached out and took her hand on the table. "During those 3 months, don't go to Tom, don't go to anyone else. Just you and yourself." Sarah looked down at my hand holding hers. A long moment. Then she looked up, nodded. "I promise." That afternoon, we talked to the kids. I didn't know how to start. How do you tell 3 kids that their parents are going to live apart? How do you explain adult things that I barely understood myself? We called them down to the living room. Jake, Emma, Lily sat on the couch, looking at us with different expressions. Jake was wary. Emma was worried. Lily was innocent, not knowing what was about to happen. I opened my mouth to speak, but Jake spoke first. "Are you guys getting divorced?" The question hit like a knife. Jake's mouth dropped open. "Jake, no!" "I know already." Jake looked straight at me, just like Sarah had looked at me earlier. "I know Dad had a girlfriend. I know Mom was sad. I know Uncle Tom's been coming around a lot. We're not little kids anymore." I was frozen. Emma nodded. Her eyes were red. "We just stayed quiet because we didn't want to make you guys more sad." Lily, the 8-year-old, looked at her brother and sister, then at us. "Are you guys breaking up?" Sarah covered her face and cried. I didn't know what to say. Turns out, while we were trying to hide things, trying to protect the kids from the truth, they already knew everything. And they stayed quiet. Because they loved us. Jake stood up and walked over. "I just want you guys to be happy." His voice cracked, that changing voice of a 15-year-old. "Together or not, I don't care. Just stop hurting each other." He hugged Sarah, then he turned and hugged me. For the first time in years, I held my son and cried like a baby. Emma and Lily ran over too. Our whole family hugged in the middle of the living room, crying, no one saying anything. That night, Sarah packed. She'd stay a few days, then move to the small apartment she'd found online. I helped her fold clothes, not saying anything. The kids were in their rooms. Lily still didn't fully understand, but seeing her mom cry, she cried too. Around 8 p.m., the doorbell rang. I went to answer it and froze. Tom, he stood there under the porch light, his face pale, dark circles under his eyes like he'd been crying for hours. He held a small bag. He hesitated. "Can I talk to you guys for a minute?" My hands clenched into fists. All the blood rushed to my head. But then I heard Sarah behind me. "Let him in, Mike." I stepped aside. Tom walked in, his eyes not daring to look at anyone. We sat in the living room. Tom in the single chair, me and Sarah next to each other on the couch. Only a few feet between us and him, but it felt like an ocean. Tom kept his head down. "I'm sorry." His voice was hoarse. "I don't know what else to say. I'm sorry for everything, for 20 years of pretending, for setting you up with Lisa, for trying to destroy your marriage." He looked up at Sarah. "Especially you. I'm sorry to you. I turned you into a target for my selfishness. I didn't really love you, at least not the right way. I love the picture of you in my head, not the real you." Sarah was quiet, her eyes were red, but she wasn't crying. Tom looked at me. And you. You were the best friend I ever had, and I betrayed you in the worst way possible. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just want to say I was wrong. He put the bag on the table. These are the keys to my apartment. I'm going away for a while. Out west, stay with my cousin for a few months. Find a new job, start over. He stood up. If someday, if you guys need a friend, I'll still be here. But I understand if it can never be the same. Tom walked to the door. He stopped for a moment, looking around the house, the place he'd been so many times over 20 years. The place where he'd eaten dinner, drunk beer, played with the kids, secretly watched Sarah. Then he opened the door and walked out. The door closed behind him. Silence. I looked at Sarah, she looked at me. No one said anything, but my hand found hers and held on. Sarah looked down at my hand holding hers. 1 second, 2 seconds. Then she squeezed back. Didn't pull away. I looked out the window. Tom's shadow had disappeared behind the trees. A car started, the engine sound fading away. 3 months. 3 months not living together. 3 months for each of us to heal. 3 months to learn how to love again, from the beginning, if we could. I didn't know what the future would bring. Didn't know if after 3 months, Sarah would want to come back. Didn't know if I'd be strong enough to change. But I knew one thing, I would try. For the first time in a year, I wasn't running away. I was staying. Chapter 8, 3 months. The first week, I couldn't sleep. The house was empty without Sarah. No footsteps in the hallway. No yelling at the kids to come down for breakfast. Even the silence felt wrong. And I used to think silence was just normal. First night, I sat in the kitchen, staring at her chair and had no idea what to do with my hands. But I didn't trash anything. I grabbed one of Lily's old notebooks from the shelf, opened it to the first page, and started writing. Day 1, Sarah's gone. House is too quiet. My hands itch, want to break something. But I remember what the doctor said. When you want to smash things, write anything. So I'm writing? This is stupid. Second week, I started counseling. Sitting in the waiting room, looking at all these strangers, I felt like I was watching my own life from outside. A 42-year-old construction worker with bandages on his hands learning how to talk about feelings. When did you first realize something was wrong? The doctor asked. I sat there for a long time. Then I said, when I smashed a $2,000 table because I saw my wife kiss my best friend. But maybe something was wrong way before that. Third week, I wrote in my journal. Today I learned I'm scared of failing. Not because of failing itself, but because I think if I fail, I'll lose everything. Sarah, the kids, the house, my pride, and I got so scared I destroyed myself first. At least destroying myself is better than being destroyed. That sounds so childish. 42 years old, and I'm just now learning to grow up. Fourth week, I read back what I'd written, and I saw how childish I was. A 42-year-old kid scared of the dark, scared of losing things, scared of not being loved. But at least I was learning. Sarah called every night, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, sometimes just to say goodnight and hang up. She was in counseling too. She told me, I realize I've spent 18 years being a wife, being a mom. I know what Sarah does for her husband, for her kids, but I don't know what Sarah wants. I listened. Yesterday, for the first time, I made dinner just for myself. Not for you, not for the kids, for me. And I sat there eating alone, and I cried. I wanted to say, I'm sorry, but I knew that wasn't enough. Are you okay? I asked. Learning how to be, we met every weekend. Not at home, public places, coffee shops, parks, the library. Like two people on a first date. Third time we met, we sat in that old coffee shop near our old school. Remember our first date here? Sarah asked. I looked around. They'd renovated, but it still felt the same. Yeah, you wore a yellow shirt and spilled coffee on me. She laughed. And you said, no problem, my shirt was ugly anyway. I laughed too. I meant it. That shirt was hideous. Then why did I fall for you? The question caught me off guard. I looked at her, trying to read her eyes. You know, I said slowly, for the past year, I've asked myself that. Why did you stay? Why did you still love me? I didn't deserve it. Sarah put her hand on the table, close to mine. Because you're not your mistakes, Mike. You're the guy who stayed up all night when the kids were sick. You're the guy who worked overtime to buy me a birthday present. You're the guy who cried in my arms when your dad died. She paused. And now, you're the guy trying to change. That means more to me than anything. I couldn't speak. I just took her hand. Second month passed. I found a job, not construction, site supervisor, desk job, looking at blueprints. Less money, but steady. Enough to pay bills, enough to stop worrying about every dollar. I called to tell Sarah. She was quiet for a moment, then said, "Are you proud of yourself?" I thought about it. Yeah, first time in a long time. Good. That weekend, we took the kids to the park. Lily running around, Emma reading, Jake on his phone but glancing over and smiling sometimes. A normal day. The kind I used to take for granted, but now I saw how precious it was. When the kids went for ice cream, Sarah turned to me. "I need to tell you something." My heart dropped. "What?" "I got a promotion." I was happy for her. "Oh, wow, Sarah, that's great." "I have to transfer to California for a year." The words hit me like a rock. I was quiet for a long time. Sarah watched me, waiting. "What do you think?" she asked. I looked away. The kids were in line for ice cream, Lily jumping up and down because it was almost her turn. Golden afternoon light, soft breeze. I stayed quiet so long Sarah started to worry. "Mike?" I turned to look at her. I think you should go." Her eyes went wide. "This is your chance. You've worked so hard for so many years. You deserve it." And I stopped, took a deep breath. "And I'll follow you, if you'll let me." Sarah stared at me. "I don't know what happens next," I said. "I don't know what that year will look like. But I know I don't want to be away from you anymore. I know I want to be with you, wherever, whatever." Her eyes got wet. "Mike, you don't have to answer now. Think about it. I just want you to know I'm ready. For the first time in my life, I'm actually ready." Sarah wiped her eyes. "You know," she said, voice shaky, "the first time I met you, I thought, this is the man I want to walk through life with. 18 years, sometimes I forgot that, but now, looking at you, I remember." She took my hand. "Come to California with me." I looked into her eyes, blue clear with my reflection in them. Okay. Chapter 9, The Leap. "You're crazy!" Jake stared at me like I just announced I was moving to the moon. I sat at the kitchen table with the for sale sign in front of me. The kids had just gotten home from school, still had their backpacks on. "You're selling the house?" Emma's eyes got huge. "Our house?" Lily, the youngest, ran over and hugged my legs. "Daddy, where are we going? Are we going with Mommy?" I patted her head. "We're all moving to California to be with Mom." Jake was still in shock, like, "You're leaving everything to chase Mom again? 2 months ago you were separated, now you want to pack up the whole family?" I looked at my 16-year-old son. He was almost as tall as me now, voice cracking with puberty, but his eyes still had that kid look. I smiled. "No, I'm leaving everything on to build a new life. Your mom is just the bonus." Jake blinked. "Huh?" Emma laughed. "Dad, that's so weird." I pulled Lily onto my lap. "Let me explain. I got a job in California, big construction company, better pay. I already checked out schools for you guys. They're good." I looked at Jake. "I'm not following Mom. I'm finding a new life for myself. Mom being there is an extra reason, but not the only one." Jake stared at me for a long time. Then he pulled out a chair and sat down. "So you really changed, huh?" I nodded. "Trying." He was quiet for a second, then, "California got good waves, Dad?" I burst out laughing. "Yeah, I hear it does." Jake grinned. "Then let's go. I want to try surfing." 3 weeks later, I stood outside Sarah's apartment in California. In my hand, keys to my new place. A small studio 10 minutes from her. In my pocket, my new employee ID. In my backpack, some clothes and the journal I'd kept for 3 months. I knocked. Sarah opened the door. She was in a t-shirt, hair messy, probably just woke up from a nap. When she saw me, she froze. "Mike?" I smiled. "Hey, what are you doing here?" I pulled out my employee ID and showed her. "Got a job here. Apartment 10 minutes away, sold the house. Kids fly out next week." Sarah looked at me, then at the ID, then back at me. Her eyes got huge, mouth hanging open. "You're insane." I laughed. "Your son said the same thing." She just stood there, still in shock. I took a step closer. "I'm not insane, Sarah. For the first time in my life, I'm clear-headed. I know what I want. I want to be near you. Not to cling to you, but to build a new life. Here, with you, but as my own life." Sarah put her hand over her mouth. Her eyes got wet. "Mike, you don't have to answer anything. I just want you to know I'm here, and I'll be here no matter what." She stepped forward and wrapped her arms around me. First month in California, we officially dated. Not living together as husband and wife. 2 people getting to know each other again. Dinner dates, movies, walks on the beach, holding hands like teenagers. One Saturday night, we sat on the beach watching the sunset over the Pacific. Waves crashing, cool breeze. In the distance, the kids were playing with some new friends. I looked at Sarah. She was watching the ocean, hair blowing in the wind, a little smile on her lips. "Sarah." She turned. I stood up, got down on one knee in front of her. No ring, no flowers, just my empty hands and a heart pounding in my chest. Sarah, I know I don't deserve you. I know I hurt you. I know I betrayed you. I stayed silent. I ran away. And I know I can't erase any of that. Sarah stared at me, eyes wide. But if you give me a chance, I want to love you the way I should have loved you from the start. Not out of duty. Not because we've been together 18 years, but because I choose you every day. I will choose you. I stopped, swallowed hard. Sarah, will you marry me again? Silence. Waves. Wind. Sarah looked at me for a long time. Then she knelt down on the sand in front of me.
Mike, yes.
My heart stopped. But not because of 18 years together. She took my hands. Because of the last 3 months, I've seen you really change. You learn to talk. You learn to listen. You learn to face your fears. And I've seen myself change too. I learned to be myself, not just a wife, not just a mom. She smiled, tears running down her face. We'll get married again, Mike, and this time as 2 grown-ups, not 2 scared kids. I pulled her into my arms, crying, laughing. I didn't know what anymore. In the distance, Jake, Emma, and Lily came running over. When Jake saw us hugging, he stopped and pulled his sisters back. Go play somewhere else, he said. Mom and Dad are busy. Emma giggled. Lily yelled out, Are you guys okay now? I looked up at my 3 kids standing in the sunset light. Yeah, I said, we're okay now. And I knew this time, okay, meant something different. Not going back to how it was, starting over, from scratch, as new people, stronger, braver. The sun sank into the ocean. The sky turned dark purple. I held Sarah's hand. She squeezed back. We stood there, looking at the ocean, kids running around us. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't scared. I felt peace. I felt hope. And I knew our real journey was just beginning. Chapter 10, 18 years and a beginning. Our 7-year-old stood in front of me, holding a little pillow with 2 rings on it, face completely serious like she was guarding treasure. Daddy, don't lose them, Lily said, loud enough for the whole garden to hear. Mommy said if you lose them, you have to sleep outside. Everyone burst out laughing. Grandma in the front row was shaking her head, smiling. Jake and Emma, standing on either side as best man and maid of honor, were giggling. Our new friends from California, some of Sarah's coworkers, a few guys from my new construction job, everyone was laughing. I looked at Sarah. She wore a simple white dress, not an expensive wedding gown, just one she'd bought at a little shop near our apartment. Hair loose around her shoulders, a tiny white flower tucked behind her ear. Not much makeup, nothing fancy. But to me, she was the most beautiful woman in the world. Sarah looked at me, eyes shining, that warm smile on her lips. I took the rings from Lily and turned to Sarah. We'd done this once before, 18 years ago, in a big church with 300 guests, with all the fancy rituals. Back then I was young, I thought I knew what love was, thought I knew what I was doing. Turns out, I didn't know anything. Sarah, I said, voice a little shaky. Last time I promised before God and everyone that I'd love you forever, and I broke that promise. Sarah was quiet, still watching me. I betrayed you, I went silent, I ran away, I hurt you in ways I never thought I could. I paused, swallowing hard. But you stayed. You still gave me chances. You still believed in who I could become. I took her hand. Today, I'm not promising before God. I'm not promising before 300 guests. I'm promising before you, before our 3 kids, and before a few good friends. I promise I won't give up. Every day, I'll choose you. Every day, I'll learn to love you better. And if I mess up, I'll face it. No more running. I slipped the ring onto her finger. This time, I'm staying. Sarah cried. She didn't try to hide it. Tears streaming down her face, but she was smiling. Mike, she said, voice breaking. Last time I promised to love you in good times and bad, in sickness and health. I thought I understood those words, but I didn't. She held my hand tight. I didn't understand that loving you in bad times meant loving you when you went silent, loving you when you shut down, loving you when you hurt me. For a long time, I couldn't do that. I got revenge. I looked for someone else. I forgot why I loved you. She wiped her tears. But I learned. Through those 3 months, I learned that love isn't getting what you want. It's choosing to stay, even when it's hard. She put the ring on my finger. This time, I'm staying. The wedding ended. Guests drifted away. The kids ran around the garden, playing with bubbles. I stood alone by the gift table, looking around. And then I realized Tom didn't come. I wasn't expecting him, but it still stung a little. 20 years of friendship, no matter how it ended, leaves a hole. Then I saw it. A small card, sitting alone on the gift table. No wrapping, no ribbon. I picked it up and opened it. I couldn't come, but I am happy for you. Take care of her, old friend. If you don't, I'm still here. I smiled. That jerk. I tore the card in half, not out of anger, because I understood. Tom was healing too, in his own way. And that card was his way of saying goodbye to the past. Sarah walked over. What did Tom write? I pulled her close. He said congratulations, and to pay him back. Sarah laughed and playfully punched my chest. You owe him money? 20 years of friendship, but I think he's letting it go. That night, after everyone had gone home, after the kids were in bed, Sarah and I sat on the porch looking at the stars. California had a different sky than Ohio. Bigger, brighter, but also more unfamiliar. Like our new life. Sarah rested her head on my shoulder. Mike, do you think we'll ever be okay? I kissed her hair. Still smelled like jasmine from the morning. I don't know. She was quiet. I don't know, I said again, because I'm not even sure what okay means. Life will still be hard. There will still be times I'm scared, times you're tired, times we look at each other and don't know what to say. I paused. But I know I won't give up. Sarah looked up at me. These past 18 months, I learned how to be weak. I learned it's okay to be scared, okay to not know things, okay to need help. I looked into her eyes. Now I'm learning how to be strong, with you. Sarah didn't say anything, just put her head back on my shoulder. Crickets chirping in the garden. Soft breeze. In the distance, city lights twinkling. And I knew this was the real beginning. Not the wedding 18 years ago. Not the years we thought were happy but were full of silence. Not even the 3 months apart with all the tears. But this moment, sitting here together, not promising anything grand, just promising not to give up. Sarah whispered, Mike. Yeah? Thank you. I leaned down and kissed her forehead. Thank you. We sat in silence. Crickets still chirping, stars still shining, and life with all its wounds and healing still waiting ahead. This time, we'd walk through it together,